Welcome to What a Week, the weekly podcast where we talk about the news that you should have heard about during the last 7 days. My name is James Messer, and I am joined today by my co-host, Judy Messer.
Hello.
And what a week it has been. How has your week been?
My week was good. I had a very good week.
It's a new year. Now, the last one we did last week was on New Year's Eve. So since then, we've now changed the calendars around. We've now moved over... I want to say we've taken down all of the Christmas ornaments and put them away.
We haven't.
How much of this have we done so far?
None.
None of it. Now we were discussing yesterday, what is the appropriate time frame? And I said 3 months. I think that's appropriate.
No, you cannot have an Easter tree.
There's
That's
nothing
not
wrong with
okay.
that. We'll put little eggs on it.
I think we have now passed the appropriate time frame.
So we're late.
We're late.
So after What a Week and after we're doing a user group, a study group meeting today. So after that, I imagine I have something to do.
We're going to put on some music. We're going to take down the tree, put away Christmas. It'll be great.
Post-Christmas,
It'll be fun.
Post-Christmas music.
You'll love it.
I don't know if I'll love it.
It's the battle because every year when you're taking it out, you're thinking to yourself, this is going to look so great, but I'm going to have to put it away.
I know, and I have boxes in the garage right now just waiting. So if nothing, it'll free up so much room in my garage. So I'm looking forward to that. Well, one of the things I was concerned about when you do a podcast like this where you're talking about things that are in the news, obviously it's that time between Christmas and New Year's that the news people really aren't working. There's nothing going on.
They're done.
We talked about that last week, but finally they came in on the first and they got some work done. So there are a number of things that we're able to talk about today, thankfully. And that was a nice piece of it. So with that, why don't we jump right into our first story for today? The first story, I don't know if I have all of my things set up properly on. Yeah, I do. So we actually do have stories this week. The first one I'm calling, What a Poster. This is my big story of the week. Now, one of the things that this is about is this thing called the Works Progress Administration. Do you know what the WPA is?
I don't. I haven't heard of this.
The WPA was created during the New Deal. So this is Franklin Delano Roosevelt. For those of you that are watching from outside the United States, this doesn't quite have the same type of impact as it does for us in the U.S. But in the United States, in the 1930s, we were having such a problem with our economy, with the Depression. Of course, today's economy, they always harken back to, hey, this could be another depression. But things were really bad during the Depression, so much that in the first 100 days of office, Franklin Delano Roosevelt created this thing. He created many, many different parts of the government. Really, there was a huge increase in the size of the government. So the what is now the Federal Aviation Administration was created at that time.
Oh, really?
Well, the Social Security Administration was created at that time. They call it the alphabet of this New Deal agency works that were done. In fact, let me flip over to my browser and show you that. This is to get the real scope of what was going on during that time frame. I'm going to punch this up so you can see this is the Works Progress Administration page from Wikipedia. But the New Deal agency had just tons of different parts of the government that were created, these huge numbers of agencies. And here's a good example. Look at all these. They call these the alphabet agencies because there's so many abbreviations associated with these.
Look how many.
Huge numbers. So you talk about, the arguments that we have in the United States about should the government be big,
right,
should it be small?
Government.
Well, this was a huge increase in the size of the government. And the effort was that so many people were unemployed that this was a way to get the government involved in the economy and get people back to work.
Right, sure. They created a lot of jobs.
Tennessee Valley Authority, the Housing Authority, the National Labor Relations Act. So things that are still around in some shape or form today were created back in the 30s. And then one down here at the bottom, Works Progress Administration. And that's the one that I wanted to talk about because what the WPA did was take people that were able to create things for the public good, to create streets and roads, to create schools. People build schools, building bridges, and doing things that could go back into creating better things for what we are doing in the country. So make the country better, build the infrastructure, build things that we need. What was interesting about the Works Progress Administration is it wasn't just about construction, but other aspects as well, because you have people building buildings, but what about people who are artists? They're not working. during this time frame. They don't have a job. People aren't buying art.
Right. Nobody has the money.
Nobody has the money. So, and the WPA did was also had people like artists create posters that were promoting these things that were going on within the government.
Like promoting these agencies?
Promoting agencies, but even promoting different things. Here's a good example. I really saw this over on Boing Boing this week. And what the Library of Congress has always had these posters available that you could look at. The WPA, Keep Your Teeth Clean. There's a poster. It's for the public good, but look at that. It's so unique. It's so different.
It's very artsy, right?
It's very artsy. And it's always been available if you wanted to go out to a government website and download these in this TIFF format, this really not well-known and very high-resolution graphical format. You could always do that. It wasn't very accessible to see that. So what they did this week is they thought, where could we put a list of pictures somewhere online that would be available to everybody? So they stuck them on Flickr.
No kidding.
It makes perfect sense, doesn't it? So the Library of Congress has now on Flickr a photo stream, and they've added some of these pictures, some of these posters. It's one of the things they first started. So I really like what they've done here. They've taken an idea of this art. It really is art. Let's look at a couple of these. I want to show you what this is. They've taken this idea of putting art in here. Here they are, just a few of them.
Those are really beautiful.
They really are. Let's just put this in slideshow mode. So here's a good example. National parks preserve wildlife. Understanding the arts. Keeping up with science.
And these are old, or are they?
These are from the 30s. So this is when the WPA was really doing these things. But look, these could be...
They could be framed.
They could be. In fact, some of the pictures they have online they are still in the frames. They will not take them out of frame to take the picture for fear of damaging them. So it's very interesting that we even have these available. Just amazing pieces of art that are now just that much more accessible. And what's interesting about these, for those of you that have your own websites or your own podcasts or things that you like to do, these are in the public domain. These are government type built by the federal government, but there's no copyright associated with them. So you'll often see derivatives of these as well that are out there. Just fantastically nice.
These are great.
These are beautiful to have there.
They really are.
It is really National Letter Writing Week. How about that one?
That letter will be appreciated.
Just a fantastic list of those. And I got stuck in there, and it's one of those things that's the cats on YouTube effect where you get in there.
Oh, you can just sit here going through posters and going through posters.
Constantly going through there. What a great thing to have there.
I'm thinking that would be cool to put up at a school.
It'd be fantastic. So if you want to know more about those, I saw them on Boing Boing. You could also go to flickr.com and just search for Library of Congress, and you'll see their photo stream there to have that available. I thought that was a pretty nice thing that they did. A really smart thing that they did, because it's really about getting that information out. It's been sitting on the Library of Congress website for a long time. In fact, if you wanted to get the really high-resolution TIFF versions of these, they are on LOC, the libraryofcongress.gov/picture/collection/WPAPOS, WPA posters, and download them directly from there. So that was just a little nugget I found, just a little shiny thing that I saw on the internet I stuck in my pocket that I wanted to show everybody.
I had no idea when all those agencies were created.
It just when I started reading about it, because we don't have any connection back to the 30s.
Right, it's before our time.
I started reading about it thinking, well, that's really interesting. Of course, has a lot of corollaries to what's happening today with economies and things that are happening around the world. So I thought that interesting. Our next story this week is, what a map. You know me, I love maps. I'm a map guy. Now, you can't see it in the video here, but on my office to my left on the wall is an enormous, really it's a flight map that my grandfather used in the 40s and 50s, somewhere in there, 50s and 60s. And it's of the Baltic Sea, and it has all of the old Soviet type republics. You can see all the old countries are there, and I have this fascination with maps. I wouldn't call it a passion, but an interest in maps. Anytime I see a map, I find it interesting. Well, what was interesting also about this week, I got this from Boing Boing, was there is every year a map competition. Did you know that?
I had no idea. What do you mean?
Of course there is. There is the annual Cartography and Geographic Information Society Best of Show Prize for excellence in map design.
No kidding.
No kidding. Now, in the past 5 years, the CIA, the U.S. Census Bureau, and National Geographic has won. National Geographic, I think, won a few
so these
times.
aren't like high school kids.
No.
Not like when you had to
these
do Oklahoma for school and you would draw like a little cow here and a little oil rig.
No, there's not.
Okay, it's not the same thing.
It's not the same thing. We're talking professionals.
I was going to say that does not look like something that a high school student would do.
No, I have no abilities whatsoever to be able to draw anything. So this is definitely well above and beyond. So what was interesting about this one, this is a gentleman created this, Imus Geographics at imusgeographics.com. This is Dave Imus created this. What he did is effectively by hand, he used a computer obviously, but manually went through and created this map of the United States, and very, very patiently over a 2-year period, working these 40-hour days, created this map. So an incredible amount of time went into this. But because he did that, he now has this perspective of what do I want this map to look like? And here's a good example of the map on the left is his map, and the map on the right is one from National Geographic. And he's really looked at what font do I use, what typeface, how close should these be together, where should they be located around the points of interest on the map? Do I highlight where foresty areas are in green? Do I change the way things look? He's really gone into a huge amount of detail.
He has to draw all those little interchanges.
Everything with this. He went through and the entire map of the United States was done this way. And just look at the difference. You can really tell for Chicago where the busier parts of Chicago are versus the one on the right, which is the National Geographic map. Really went into a lot of detail. And out on imusgraphics.com, you can go out and grab one of these. He's already, I noticed on his website when I looked last night, the response from the stories on the internet, order fulfillment running 2 weeks behind.
Wow.
So popular. Just an amazing work. Whenever I see somebody who's put that level of passion into a project, into something that he's created,
it's incredible.
Have to sit back. You have to appreciate that. It's amazing what he's done with those pieces. And you can get your own. I have no connection to imusgeographics.com. You can get your own by going out there. It's $40 for laminated. And you can expect, if you want a 10 pack, $77.70. He's got them all right here. You can buy them right there. And what a great piece of interesting artwork that just so happens to be a map of the United States. So
I like to hold a physical map.
I do too.
I find that easier than a GPS.
No, you don't really use the Google Maps type thing to get around. I'm carrying my phone everywhere I go and using Google Maps everywhere I go. And
it's a little bit distracting for me.
How so?
And then my phone keeps turning off, and then I have to unlock it and turn it back on again.
It's a different kind of problem.
Yes.
Now, we've tried to put the GPS in the vehicles now, but I noticed the GPS in the vehicle's not near as good as my phone. So I don't even know where to even go with that. My phone's constantly updated. There's challenges with that. None of them look as good as Dave Imus maps, of course.
That map is beautiful.
You need to have some way to take his maps and shove them into the Google Map part of the world. That would be pretty awesome.
I think that would be cool. I want it to be like Mission Impossible, where the map's up on your windshield.
And
that's cool.
I don't need to have more things in my car that are distracting me.
And Tom Cruise could be there showing me where to go.
Now I'm starting to see where the hook is for that particular story. So, of course, the end of the year brought with us a number of things. So, of course, my next story is going to be, what a cheese ball.
I would never have guessed that was going to be.
Of course you would have never have guessed.
Your next story.
My next story. This is from cheeseandchampagne.com.
I like where this is going.
Yes. Cheeseandchampagne.com. You can see that just as the Map and Cartography Association have their own awards, the folks at Cheese and Champagne on their blog also have their awards every year for cheese balls.
I would like to go to that award show.
Let's find out more about the cheese balls at the cheese ball.
We can use the map to get there.
We could. So here's the Cheese Ball Invitational out on Cheese and Champagne.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So number 1 was Cheese Chicks Holiday Cheese Ball.
Oh, yeah.
With goat cheese and bacon.
Everything about that, by the way, is good.
Everything about that is good.
And the cheese and the bacon and
the Cheese Chick.
That's an awesome name, too.
How do you not have the name Cheese Chick already?
Because she took it.
She's
got
already
there
got
first.
it. Nothing you can do with that. So there were the number 1. These are the contenders. I don't think these are in any particular order, and I had not actually seen who's won yet. So the Fromagettes aged cheddar and Guinness caramelized shallot ball.
Guinness, cheese, shallots together?
No bacon, but the Guinness certainly
that makes up for
that.
bacon.
Sure. Oh, yeah. So goodness all there. Number 3 on the list, Madame Fromage has the Point Reyes pine cone.
Wow, she made a pine cone out of hers.
She did, because it's a holiday.
That is really cool.
I'm digging the cheese. The Quick Pickled Mom's Cheese Ball. So there's a traditional cheese ball right in the middle. Now, all of these out on the website. You can always go out and have a look. The number 5 here, just putzings. Apparently not serious about this,
He's just putzing around making a cheese ball.
You would think not serious, but look at the festive cheese rounds that are now.
That's a pretty nice looking
there.
Artistic cheese ball.
And Colleen, who has no time for funny names, has the bourbon bacon
She's a straight
cheese
up
ball.
Kind of girl.
Well, we were dealing with bourbon and bacon.
She was like,
She's
I don't
not
know.
Messing around.
My name's just Colleen, but
Nope.
there's bourbon in here.
So there you go. It is. It's one of those things. There's judging going on about this. So you'll
Would
get
you
to see
love to be a judge? Can you imagine the phone call? Hello.
where do
Would you
I
like
sign
to come
up?
judge our cheese ball contest?
If
there'll be bourbon and Guinness.
you're listening from the cheeseandchampagne.com here at What a Week, we're more than happy to step up and help out with whatever we can do regarding the judging.
We are there to promote cheese, definitely.
Just a fantastic set of those. And of course, I'm reading this as well and diving into this. So you know what I would like later on this week. Let's get some wine. We'll get some cheese.
Yes, definitely.
Some crusty bread.
I think I could just live on that if I was on an island.
I'm fine with that.
Wine, cheese, bread.
By the way, fine with all of those things. All of that just sounds fantastic to me. So that's that kind of covers my holiday piece of it. I kind of got, now the holidays are over, kind of got the trees out of the way. We got the cheese balls now covered. It's back to work. So that's one of the things that when I'm looking and doing anything with the podcast, I'm always wondering about getting back to work. So of course, this week as well, I have the next story called What a Business. Now, the question I have is, have you ever been to China?
I have not.
You've never been to China?
I never have.
I'm asking this like I don't know, but of course.
I was going to say.
We live together, so you would think I would know
No.
these things. So you haven't snuck off to China. It's very hard to get to China. Do you realize this? You've had friends that have gone to China.
I do. I have a friend that adopted a little girl from China, and it is a very long trip.
Did she have a challenge just getting all the paperwork in order? Do you recall? Did you even talk to her about that piece?
About specifically getting there?
Just getting there.
Well, I know there was just a lot of paperwork in general because of the adoption process.
This is one, can you imagine, not just going for business, but for adopting or doing anything else? This is a business that was set up by a gentleman in a van, not down by the river.
I was going to say.
No, not down by the river, but in front of the Chinese consulate in New York City. His challenge was that, this is Adam Humphreys, he was going to go to China on vacation.
Okay.
I understand it's a beautiful country. This is a place that many people would want to go on vacation. So he went online, found all the things he needed, because to travel to another country, you need a visa. They don't just let you in on business. Now, if you're going on vacation, sometimes they will let you in without a visa in some countries. China is not one of those, as you can imagine.
Oh, really? So if you're just going for vacation, you still need a visa?
You absolutely need a visa if you're going on vacation. So online, of course, they have all the things you need to be able to fill out all the forms and do everything you need to do to go to China. So he shows up at the consulate with all of the paperwork, and they say, no, that's not the right paperwork. It's like, so where do I get the right paperwork? Oh, it's here. It's online. You're going to have to fill it out, print it out, fill out the form again. He says, well, I'm here at the consulate in New York City. Where's the nearest place I can go to do this? Well, there's like a Burger King that's a mile away. You can walk down there and do it there. And that's what he ended up doing. He ended up going all the way down to somewhere else.
They don't have tables for him to go sit down.
There's no printer. This is China. There's no printers. He's lucky there's power to get these things done. They're not going to give you any of this.
They're not going to make it easy for you to get in.
To go on business to China, it's very hard as a business person who travels internationally sometimes. It's very hard as a business person to go into another country because that country doesn't want you coming in taking their jobs. So there's a big process you have to go through, and they don't make it easy. And he found it was very frustrating. He found out when he went to Burger King, all of their computers that they had in this Burger King. First, where did he go? Where are computers in Burger King? But
I know. I'm wondering where this is.
Apparently, the Burger King had a very popular business center set up because every single one of the computers in there was people working on paperwork for China. It was packed with people trying to figure this out.
No kidding.
So he said, wait a second. If I'm having to go through this, then other people obviously are having to go through this.
Because here we all are at Burger King.
Because here we are at Burger King. He set up a van. He stuck some computers inside of it, wireless connectivity. He put a couch down, and he's now
I bet the New York City police loved him. Because they love people parking in strange vans.
And here they are. This is the Lucky Dragon mobile visa consultants that are sitting there. And he had to go through an entire process. So they just stand outside with their clipboard saying, yeah.
Do you need some help?
Not working so well, is it?
That is a brilliant idea.
Brilliant idea.
I bet people are so glad to see him when they come out of there.
Brilliant. Oh, step on in. And he had to go through the whole process of figuring out, now, how much do you charge for something like this? How much do you do for something like this?
How much is it worth to you to get this paperwork done?
For me, it'd be worth a lot. I just need to get the paperwork done so I can get to China and do whatever I need to do to get home. I found it intriguing. They even have uniforms now. So you
Is that their uniforms?
That's their uniform.
With the red hats? You certainly can find them.
They're right there in
front.
They
stand out.
They stand out. So brilliant. The Lucky
They need to get with the cheese people. Wine, cheese, paperwork.
This is brilliant.
That could be fun.
You could have cheese.
You know, I remember my girlfriend's, one of her biggest concerns about going over to China was the food. She's kind of a particular eater, and she was just nervous about what they were going to have. She didn't want anything unusual. And so her thing was, could she smuggle peanut butter into the country? Will they let me bring my peanut butter?
Smuggle it. Like hide it in a shoe or something?
Smuggle my peanut butter. She was just going to live on peanut butter for 2 weeks.
I guess that's doable. Sure. Do they not have food in China that she would like? What did she find when she got there? Was there food?
It worked out. She found, just kind of very bland looking types of items.
Because imagine she wasn't in like the major cities hanging out.
No, they were more almost in a more countryside type area.
Did they let her bring her peanut butter in?
I think she did.
I think she snuck it in. Was she supposed to have peanut butter in China? We would have to ask the Lucky Dragon mobile visa consultants.
I'm sure it was fine.
I'm sure there was no problem whatsoever. They would know at Lucky Dragon. We can talk to them about the entire thing. So that's
I think they're great.
What a brilliant idea for business, I thought. Way to get back to doing the things that need to be done. Now, one of the things we've talked about on previous episodes is this new phenomenon sweeping the nation called Words with Friends.
Oh, I love this game.
So the Words with Friends, we've been going back and forth. We have this, what I'd like to call a healthy competitive situation going back and forth.
I like to beat him.
This is my challenge. Is that apparently I'm not as smart as I'd like to say that I am. And but I've won one. It is
hard.
I've won a game so far. I think you've won a game so far. I'm a very slow player. I play like 2 games. You've won 2 games so far against me. But I am a very slow player. So I only play like 1 round a day.
I know. Are you doing like podcasts? Are you working? What's going on?
I have no idea. You'd have
priorities.
But at least I participate. And if you wanted to have to play me and beat me in Words with Friends, you can share. I guess join Professor Messer is my Words with Friends name. You could do that. But you saw this week that they took it up to another level.
I loved this story, by the way.
I don't know about this. I have not read this story. So
Well,
what's
it's very
this about?
interesting because when you play this game with people, you can kind of get a sense of the person. You know what I mean? Like
you get in their head. You see how they.
Yeah, I mean, if they keep playing words like cat, dog,
me,
sit, you know,
sounds a lot like
you're
mine.
kind of like, So there was this lady whose name is Megan Lawless. It's her real name. And she was in Chicago.
This is from RedEyeChicago.com.
This is from RedEyeChicago.com. And she couldn't find people to play with her, or they weren't playing quickly enough, taking forever.
Don't know what you mean by that.
So she signed up for a random player. And so she starts playing with this person whose name turns out to be something like Jasper, which I'm probably not pronouncing right, but he's from the Netherlands. So they start playing and they start having little comments back and forth, and then the comments turn into email.
Right, because you can actually communicate through chat.
Right, you can send just a little note.
Even though you can say, I want to join a new game, but just pick a stranger from random out of everybody
Right,
playing.
you can just pick a random opponent, but be careful with those comments because you can't edit them. You can't erase them. So once you put them on there,
You're locked in.
They're with you forever.
Okay, got it.
Which is kind of cool because I hope they kept all their comments. So they started emailing and Skyping, and then they met and they got married in July, this past July. Is that the coolest story?
Words with friends. Got them married. This is taking internet dating kind of to a different level, I think.
I thought it was so incredible.
Now, who won the first game?
That's what I'm wondering. I think he let her win.
If he's smart.
He was charming.
if he's smart enough, he certainly would.
Here's what's funny. This is something else that I saw in the article. So I'm a fast player. I guess I am, because sometimes it does take people a while. They're busy and, like a day or two goes by and takes them forever. Although I will say that my brother just got an iPhone, so he is now on Words with Friends, and he plays back and forth. We play all the time. He plays really fast, so I enjoy
You're like
that.
a shotgun player.
Oh,
if
yeah.
I send you one, boom.
Because you're on a roll, you got it going.
Gotcha.
Well, I had signed up for the random opponent also, and it was a funny word. Remember I told you, I'm like, it's like zing golf, blah, 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 and a bunch of numbers.
Right.
And
it's Zynga WF.
It was some crazy
Zynga's
mixed
the
up
name of the
long word.
company.
And I'm just like, that is a strange name to pick, for your handle. So
right.
They weren't a very good player. I'm sorry. They weren't really very good.
But you don't know. Maybe it was a high school student.
Right, I don't know. But then you feel a little bad, so you you don't want to play the triple word with the triple letter that your Z is going to land on, because then you just start feeling bad. So anyway, it wasn't really necessarily a great game, but we played it out and let it go. I didn't rematch or anything like that. But then I wanted to pick another random opponent, and when I did, it was like the same person. And I'm thinking, are there no people playing this game? How did I get the same random opponent again? And so then we were talking about it, and you're like, no.
Zynga WF. Zynga's the name of the company, makes Word with Friends. WF, Words with Friends. They just give the random name to the end of it.
I didn't realize that.
To protect.
That they just didn't, because my name is, my favorite color is glitter with an exclamation point.
That's your Words with Friends name.
That is my name. But I found out in this article, do you have any idea how many people are playing Words with Friends?
Quite a few, yes.
In a month.
Yes.
Almost 15 million users.
Yes.
Why did I not invent this game?
Zynga's doing very well for themselves. Zynga, of course, has IPO'd now. They started building Farmville. They started on Facebook, and now they've grown it into a full-blown...
Amazing.
And Words with Friends, probably one of their most popular.
And speaking of Words with Friends, Tina Fey was on David Letterman, and they had a little discussion about it. Turns out she is the one who got Alec Baldwin started on Words with Friends, and he has not invited her. He's not playing a game with her. That would hurt my feelings.
So she had it loaded up on his, you should play this.
Yeah,
But
she
he's
got
not
him
playing
started
her.
on it. It's really her fault that he caused all that trouble.
They got knocked off a plane.
But it would bother me if I told somebody about it and then they didn't ask me to play.
That'd be sad.
I would. I'd feel little hurt feelings.
Well, you don't have to worry about that because I will be sure to play you in Words with Friends. You will never have to worry about that piece. I got you covered.
And Uncle Scotty and Uncle John, because they're really good about playing back and forth.
I'm worried because I'm worried about playing family members for fear that they would.
Oh, no. It's serious.
It's on.
All is fair in Words with Friends. I have a word. I have a good word.
Okay, word with friends tip. Then we're going to the next story.
Little
But words
tip.
with friends tip of the week.
It's spelled Cedis, and I think it's pronounced Sadus.
Okay.
Sadai. The word is Sadai, Cedi, but I put an S on the end of mine because that put me in the double word category. It is a form of currency in Ghana. It's a real word.
Well, of course, it's a real word because in Words with Friends, they only let you play real words. But
So that's my little tip.
I knew that.
Oh, did you know about that?
I knew about that
okay.
one. Sure. Everybody knows about the currency in Ghana.
Definitely.
Well, let's move on to our last story of the week. I always like to do an interesting website as our last story of the week. So our What a Site this week is one called Streetview Stereographic from notlion.github.com. And I took a screenshot from this one. So what do you think this is? This looks pretty interesting.
You know, when you're standing back and look at it, it looks like a fan.
It does kind of look like a fan.
It looks like a fan. But then you look closer and I'm seeing the Phantom of the Opera and I see, I don't know.
This is, if I zoom up on it just a little bit, maybe we can, in fact, let me just pop over to the website. Here it is. This is an integration of Google Street View. And what they've done, if you've ever used Google Maps, this Google Map on the right side is there. But of course, you got the Street View cars that are driving all over the country and all over the world. And you can see things at street level on Google Maps.
Right.
What they've done is taken and now created the stereographic 360 views of this on Street View by collecting for a point that you would create on the map. You now have, here, let me blow your mind even more. Here's the stereographic
that is
view
cool.
of this. So you get this 360 stereographic view of the world that normally you would see a little bit at a time and you have to kind of scroll around inside of Google Maps to see it. But there it is.
That is amazing.
Now this one happens to be on Hong Kong Island. Let's go and look at what I did was Times Square, New York. Let's see, I think it's just Times Square. And that's the one that came up for Times Square. So you can put in your address, you can put in other people's address and get this very interesting stereographic view of the world all in one single view, all in one single picture.
That is incredible.
Very impressive. And you can, of course, go full screen so you can really get the perspective of being there and looking around. And because it's got the stereographic view, you can have everything in one
Wow.
single view.
I feel like I've had too many bourbon cheese balls.
Was it Colleen? Was that the one who had the bourbon cheese ball? So we'll talk to her about that. So pretty interesting website. And it's another one of those YouTube cat problems because you can just start putting in different places, in 30 minutes.
It just sucks you in.
An hour later, you're now still looking at the maps. But of course, whenever I do these, I look at these things for our What a Week podcast. I always seem to come up with these themes, and they almost automatically create themselves. And of course, this week the theme was maps, so I thought that was a pretty appropriate one to use for our What a Week to be able to see those pieces.
I liked it.
What a Week is something that we do every week, thus the name What a Week. And of course, if you would like to look at any of our What a Week podcasts, you can go to our website at whataweekpodcast.com. As you recall, last week, there was no such thing. I had a podcast name, I had the domain name, but there was no website. Now there is actually a website that posts all of the different What a Week episodes, and you can go back and watch any of those that you'd like. On Twitter, I have the remarkable Twitter name of @WhatWeek. Is there something funny about my What?
We're going to keep saving for that A, honey.
Somebody else has What a Week. I don't know who they are, so I don't have that one. What a Week podcast was too long. So we're What Week. So also follow us on What Week. And I'll next week I'll start twittering to that whenever we start getting these things up and running. Of course, you can always send me a message at james@whataweekpodcast.com. So there you go. Another week of What a Week has gone by. Is there, before we close things up, anything that you're expecting in the next week that we should be aware of?
I don't think so, but I am definitely going to make one of those cheese balls. It looks good.
My life is good right now. So I'll take down Christmas ornaments, take down the tree.
That's a deal. And if you take down Christmas, I will make you a cheese ball.
I'm loving how this is working out. So we'll work on that. Hopefully you'll have a great week as well. We'll see you next time on What a Week.
Bye.